In this first video, I will talk about a stakeholder. What is a stakeholder? Who are these stakeholders? But before we continue, don't forget to click on the subscribe button, click on the bell button, and every time we have a new video, YouTube will inform you about it. Now, when we look at projects and we deal with projects, we also have to deal with stakeholders. So what is the link between the projects and the stakeholders? Now, initially, we were thinking about stakeholders being the employees, the suppliers, shareholders. But when we look at it in more general way, we also have to see that we have to include regulators, lobby groups, people dealing with environmental problems, financial organization. Basically, we have to talk about stakeholders. When we refer to stakeholders, we have to consider any person or organization that is simply in a way or can be affected by the project. So when you're building a road, there are all kinds of people around there who have some interest in having that road built or not having it built. It depends what type of stakeholder you are. Are you in favor of the project or not? Now, typically, stakeholders were not so much participating in the project, but they were typically updated during the reporting session. Now, we tried to bring out more stakeholders into the decision model, depending where the decision lies, who are the people involved. So stakeholders can have a low level of interest or can have a high level of interest in what our project is about. Now, when we look at stakeholder management and the different processes that we have, remember the project management process that we defined in the beginning of these courses. We also have the first step, which is project initiation. And in project initiation, and this is the only of the processes that we have, except for initiation or the integration processes, we have also a process which starts with project initiation. Initiation, we are talking about the creation of the project charter. And already in the project charter, we have the identification of the stakeholders. Who are these people and organizations who are basically interested in what we are going to do? This process is one of the two that we have in initiation. Initiation only has one other process, which is creating the project charter, and identify stakeholders will be there. Now, in the beginning, we will not identify all the stakeholders. There may be hundreds or even more, depending on the situation. Here, we're just going to look at the high-level stakeholders, who are those people that may have a high-level interest in the project. We cannot do everything here, but during the next steps of the project management process, we will find out more elements, more people, more stakeholders. Now, the next step, when we go to planning, we have plan stakeholder engagement. Here we are describing how are we going to deal with the stakeholders. We are going to define the plan, how to deal with stakeholders, all the things we have to do, what tools we are using, what people we are considering, and so on. We are not going into detail in these presentations here because this is more part of the CAPM preparation course, but it's still a part of the project. Then in executing, we look at manage stakeholder engagement. We have to see that the stakeholders are engaged in the proper way. Also a very important element because we have to understand who is in which position and so on. And in monitoring and control, we look at monitor stakeholder engagement. We have to see that all the things that we planned, is this really happening the way we want it? Are there changes? And of course, we start the cycle again. During closing, we don't have any processes related to stakeholder management, but we will, of course, review all the things that we did during the project, and it may lead to updates of our ways of working with stakeholders. Like I said, knowledge management is very important, and we have to understand how are these things going, how are we dealing with all these different elements, and how can our adjustments improve the future. We spoke about different environments. We have the predicted environment, but we also have an adaptive environment. And when we look at the adaptive environment, stakeholder management is a little bit different. Now, when we have an agile or in general an adaptive environment, we may have or we have rapid changes and uncertainty. Not uncertainty in the sense that it will create more risk, but we don't really exactly know where we will be going. It will be adjusted step by step. Now, when we look at a classical communication pattern with stakeholders, it will not work, and we have to deal with the information that we share with the stakeholders in the time that we're doing the different sprints. So we have to be more active in sharing things with the stakeholders. The stakeholders will make decisions a lot faster as a part of the different sprints. Now, we have to share information. We have the client, the user, the developers, and they're sharing information, and it's basically a dynamic co-creative process. So the stakeholders, or a number of the stakeholders, will really be involved in this process. Now, when we look at these elements, we see that the fact that the contact is closer, we also see that there is a higher level of stakeholder engagement, and that's more efficient and effective. It's a lot faster because we have to make those decisions very quickly. We bring the stakeholders close to the project. Now, also, an important part is that agile environments are highly transparent, and it helps to reduce risks and increase the success of the project. Now, we already spoke about agile. We will talk about later in the lesson 11. We have to see that basically agile is not adaptable for everything. There are certain things that we will not use agile processes for. Nevertheless, we have some environments that are very interesting for agile, and the advantage here is the fact that the stakeholder engagement is in fact a lot more proactive, active, faster, and it will help us to increase the success rate of the project. So that was it for this first video in the series related to stakeholders. Anyway, don't forget to click on the subscribe button, click on the bell button, and every time we have a new video, YouTube will inform you about it. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in our next videos. Bye bye.